Okay, everyone, welcome one more time to another educational seminar of Elliott Wave Forecast. Today is the 21st of December, and we're gonna go with the regular proceed here that we want to do, which is once in a while do some sort of seminars, which they are different of the rest because these are educational. As everybody knows, we have introduced for the last 2 or 3 months a new session to the site. It's called the Trend Report. This session is very accurate, and this session it should divide the instruments in 5 different time frames, like everyone can see over there. First, I want to I assume that if you're trading, you should be able to understand that if it goes green, means that it's bullish. If it goes red, means that is bearish. Now, bullish is that the market goes to the upside. Bearish means that the market goes to the downside. Now, there are some rules that you guys should follow in this trend report. For example, like it say that corrected wave needs to be sold above at the 3, 7, or 11 swing, always following the higher degree of the trend. In the same buying or selling against the higher degree. What that means is that if you have a daily outtrend and you get an ABC back in the 4-hour, do not matter what the 4-hour trend is. You got a daily buy, you should buy the 3 ways back in the 4-hour. That's what technically that means. For example, so you guys understand, when the euro was at 131.70, the 4-hour become bearish. At 3 ways back, around 126, it was a buy. Why? Because you have a higher degree trend in that degree. That's what I mean. That's what I mean, that specific line right there. Now, the second one say that reaching the target or not reaching the target do not mean that the cycle ended. And then traders need to wait until the trending change in order to include the buying. Now, what we're trying to say there is because we got several questions every day, which goes, oh, gold reached the 60-60. Is a buy? Doesn't mean that is a buy. It doesn't mean that is a buy due to the fact that it reached the target, but then we go with extension. I want you guys to remember when the euro was at 127.30, we start saying the trend change, buy the euro, buy the euro, buy the euro. That's what we say, right? Now, what's going to happen? The euro, we kept open the extension, and we were riding the extension until we're still riding it. In other words, we're still riding the bullish extension. The 4-hour trend technically doesn't change until last week, but we were buying the 1-hour trend and looking for the extension, and we met every target, but we keep opening the target. I want you guys, I want you guys to understand that. The next one right there, the target always is minimum the 50% pullback of the previous trend. What happened? 95% of the time that target is going to be reached. Sometimes it's not. If it's not enriched, you cannot force that it's gonna go there until if it's not deniable, you're gonna be respecting your target. That's why you still see that the dollar cat, for example, we haven't changed the 4-hour trend. Why? Because technically nothing have said that the trend in the 4-hour of the cat is bearish. Otherwise, it say still that is bullish. The seminars being recorded for the question that I asked you. When the target is reached in a particular time frame, what happens is you have to refer to the small degree time frame for a new target in an extension. What that means is that, for example, we got a target in the euro coming from 126 that it was 128 and change, 128.99. The 50-minute target is gonna switch. It's gonna keep extending. Let's say that you come down from 128 for 126.16 in the euro. What's gonna happen is that the 15-minute, most of the time when the trend is on, is gonna outrun the 1 hour because it's a less oscillation, it's more oscillation in the 15-minute. What's happening is that we're gonna be opening the target most of the time in the smallest time frame faster than in the biggest time frame, but the amplitude of the biggest time frame, they are biggest because they are biggest time frame. Okay, now that's what it means in those 4 rules. Those 4 rules, in my opinion, the most important and all is the one that say that you need to buy and sell 3 ways back against the trend. Always. That's pure Elliott Wave. A trend 3 ways back is a buy. 7 ways back is a buy or a sell, depending on the size of the market. The other rules right there that is very important is the one that I say that because you reach the target, that doesn't mean that it's a buy or a sell. No, every correction ended at the 50% back, and the 50% back is your target, but that doesn't mean that it needs to end over there, right? It can extend, and we're gonna explain within the next 50 minutes how you're gonna trade it now. Now, first of all, and I'm gonna do this as simple as again, as simple as it gets. There is red and green. If you want to be a successful trader, let's start saying this. Everyone say overall that the trend is your friend. Everyone say, I don't know why. Everyone, that's one of the first things that you learn as a trader. The trend is your friend. Guess what? 95% of the traders, they know that, but they do everything opposite to that. 95% of the traders. Everyone say the trend is your friend, but everyone, what they do is trade against the trend. Now, this is that we have right here is something that we created due to the fact that we understand one thing, that the market is a wild animal, that Elliott Wave is suggested, even though we are people that practice Elliott Wave and that we can count the wave, we develop something even bigger than that. So we developed this simple, out to the point system when even the most simple trader can make money using this system. The first things that I'm going to tell you is that when a pair is it has what we call an step color, you cannot trade that pair. The first things that you guys need to understand that not every pair is a good trade every day. I'm gonna give you examples of it. All right, that's the first things that you guys need to understand. For example, let me see if I can find some right here. Look, the Dow Jones. I mean, the Dow Jones, if you take a look here, it has a green between two reds, right? That's not a good trade. That's not a good trade. Why is not a good trade, the Dow Jones? Because you have right there, you have a 1 hour trend that is still bullish. But at the same time, you got a 15-minute trend that is not bullish, it's bearish. So when that happens to you, what you need to do is avoid that trade. You avoid it completely. It's not good. Now, you need to wait. Let me get the S&P, which it should be the same. You need to wait for this area and see that area is when you say, okay, I got the S&P still bullish in the 1 hour, right? And you say, but I got the 15 that has become bearish. Now, you don't sell it based on the 15. You don't sell it based on the 15-minute time frame. You don't. Absolutely. No. You don't do that. I want you guys to understand. A trader is a hunter. And a hunter select what is going to shoot. I guarantee you that if I've never been a hunter in my life, I know Louis is, that if you go and you got 10 animals, you pick which one of the 10 you're going to shoot. Right? So the same goes right here. You got 26, 25 instruments. Guess what? You're going to select which one is the one that you can shoot. Now, the first thing is when you see something like this, like the bonds, like the S&P, like the DAX, like the EBEX, no, like the Dow Jones, automatically you cross over those indices and you say, this one, they are no good trades. Why? Because they have what we call an step trend, which is that the 1 hour is up, but the less degree trend is to the downside. Now, how do you approach that disparity between the 1 and the 15? You got to think. Now, they're saying that the S&P is going to go to 1400. Now, you got to keep and say, okay, it goes to 1400. You're going to be thinking in buying the S&P and 1400. Now, you ask me, why buying on 1400? It's because the first rule that you have over here say buying any 3, 7, and 14 way, 3, 7, and 11 against the higher degree. Your higher degree in that case is the 1 hour. So the target of the corrected 15 minute, which is the lesser degree than the 1 hour, is your next point to buy, looking an extension target in your 1 hour. Everybody understand that, right? That's the way to approach. The idea that we change the trend in 15 doesn't mean that it's a sell. It means that it's giving you a target in order to begin the next cycle to the higher degree trend. That's very simple in my eyes. Don't you guys agree? Everybody understood that, right? That's the way it works. The idea that you have a red, that's what it means. Now, when do you trade what we call the honeymoon trade? When you got two of the same levels or same two time frames with the same directions. In other words, I'm going to put one simple one right now. You go over here and you got the Aussie. The Aussie now has become bearish in the 1 hour and in the 15-minute trend, looking for 103.66. Now what do you do is that's giving you a free ride to the downside, looking for that area. What you can do is any pullback, you sell it, because you have two of the same color, two trends of the same, in the same color together, right? That's when you sell or when you buy. When you operate is when you get two time frames in the same direction. For example, the euro dollar saying 127.20, it got the 1 hour at the 15 hour and the 15 minute green to the upside. Then the euro dollar, you gotta keep buying. When the euro dollar got to 131, I believe, it put back and we changed the 15-minute trend with the target at 128.70. What you should have done right there is very simple. Right there, you should have bought it because your 1 hour still was bullish. And then it's giving you the target to the upside in the extension. All right? For example, that's the way it is. You gotta wait. For example, this is the cat. You don't touch the cat. The cat now, what it's telling you, I don't know if it reached it today already, but the cat right there, what it's telling you is that 99.35 is a sale. That's what it is right now, or at least when it was at the morning, that was still the extension. It's telling you, look, but the trend changed already. Now, I want you guys, Daoud, if you're there, can you update the cat, please? What this is telling you guys is very simple. The system that we have developed is a system in which around the inflation area that we have developed, we should know if the trend change or doesn't change. All right? Now, this is the best example that I can explain it to you. The cat. The cat right there is showing a downtrend to the downside. It's showing a 15-minute trend. We knew the 15-minute when the cat was very at the lows, right? Let me see. Let me open 1 second, because I'm gonna put the sample. Then we're gonna go over the whole process. That's at least what I'm planning. This is the cat in the 1 hour. We knew right here we changed the 15-minute trend. Now, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? That we say now it's gonna go over here, and then we went over here and we say cut out to 99.35, But out to 99.35 when the cat was over here, most likely. Boom, it went over there. Now, our system create an inflation area right here automatically. Most of the time, when that inflation area is reached, we're gonna know if the higher degree trend is damaged or no. Now we reach the area. That area, 99% of the time, is gonna create some sort of resistance or support, if we can call it like that, even though I don't believe in that, it can call it like that, that is gonna hold the market, because that's the area when the sellers of the cat gonna sell. And that's how we do it. And then when now the cat reached that area, but the cat already is telling us that that area is gonna give up. So now we're gonna change the 1 hour trend in the cat to green right here. And then you're gonna have an alignment between this, this, and this. Then the cat becomes a buy in any pullback, looking your higher degree time frame target. In this case is the 4 hour, and in that way you go with the flow of the market, and in that way is the way that you should trade it. You gotta take it step by step. But the good things about this is not very aggressive, but honestly, this is as sure trade, as confirmation trades as you can get. It's very simple. And let me repeat the case of the cat. When we were over here, in the cat, we say it's gonna go to the inflation area. It's gonna go to the inflation area. What it's telling you there, the cat, is that in that area, the 1 hour is gonna decide if it's a sell, if it is a buy. If the 1 hour hold, guess what? You sell it. If you see that we don't change the trend when the 1 hour, when we reach that area, you sell it, because the 1 hour is telling you it's still red. But if when it reached the area, the damage is created, what's going to happen is that the market is going to become the 1 and the 15 is going to align, and then all you got to do is very simple. You're going to look at the trend report. You're going to say which one is my 4 hour target. You say, okay, it's 144, and then you use the stochastic RSI right here. And when the stochastic RSI in the 1 hour trend, in the 1 hour or the 15 minute, doesn't matter, it becomes and it goes to the downside, then when this goes over here, you buy the cat against this with the target that is the 4 hour target in the trend. It's very simple, but it's like that. It's very simple, but it's like that. But you need to wait with confirmation. And the wait is that you don't trade a pair until they do not align. Now, they're asking me a valid question. What about the euro pound? Let me see the euro pound. Is bullish right here. It's very simple. Bullish on the daily, bullish on the 4, bullish on 1 hour. Bearish in 15. It's very simple. It's very simple. It's telling you that, I mean, I mean, it's telling you that it's telling you that at 80.93 right here is a buy. It's very simple, Andres. I mean, that's very simple. That have no secret. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. It's that's the way uh, that's the way the trend report is in. You don't trade unless dead align. All right. Now, what happened? That, for example, the euro pound. What is it? The euro pound right here. You see that in order for you, you see the euro pound is red. It's giving you a buy. Why a buy? Is because the 1 hour is out and the 4 hour is out. All right. And then in that way, when you got the alignments of 2 time frames, you always uh, you always gonna be in the right side of the market. If you have a red and a green, if you have a red and a green, you, as far as the higher degree, as far as the higher degree time frame is in place, what's going to happen is that you're going to buy the 15 back. Please, I mean, this is confused, and there is more than 100 persons right there. It's hard to understand, but I'm going to try my best one more time. You have a US dollar CAD with an outtrend to 99.35, because right here, the best way, so you don't got, if let me compare to you guys. 1 second, guys, please. 1 second. Don't ask question. I'm gonna repeat it, because otherwise you guys, let me repeat it one more time. 2 scenarios. You see the S&P. There is, the bottom line is this, that you have time frames. There are 5 time frames. You don't sell in one time frames. You don't buy in one time frames. You don't. You have to leave the S&P alone to the downside. Why? Because your only time frame that is red tint is 15 minutes. You don't buy the dollar CAD because the only time frame right there is the 15 minute green, and you got the red in between, which is the 1 hour. Now, which one, and I want you guys to understand, which one is the trend that rules between 4 hour, 1 hour, and 15 minutes in the dollar CAD? Is the 4 hour, right? It's still out. Now, you got two greens and one red in the middle. What's happening there is that you do not buy, you do not buy because the red in the middle. Now, you can take the sale in the 1 hour, but you gotta be aware of if it change or doesn't change to green when it reach that area. The good things with this system is that you see the cat, let's say that you sold the cat at 90.35. Our system is gonna let us know when we reach that area if it was damaged. Now, this is, let's call it sell or buy number 2. Why? Because it's a sell or buy number 2. Why? Because your higher degree of the contrarian, which is the red, that higher degree, which is the 4 hour, is contrarian to the red. That's what we call a sell or buy number 2. Now, if you look at the euro pound for a second, it's a sell or buy number 1. Why? Because it's a much better buy or sell. Why? If you take a look at the euro pound right here, what is it? You got right here, you got a 1 hour that is out, a daily, a 4 hour that is out. This is a sell or buy number 1. Why? Because that 80.93 is a buy. Why is a buy? Because the two consecutive sales or buys time frame, or the two consecutive time frame about the red one, which is the only one, they are aligned. When you get two aligns, you will never gonna miss in that market. And you got in the euro pound two aligns, the 1 hour and the 4 hour, which is not the case of the cat when you got the 1 hour in between. You see? So let me do a conclusion so you guys understand it. Let's label it, or let's name it sell or buy, or transaction 1, transaction 2. Transaction 1 is the honeymoon. You got two alignments and one contrarians. The two alignments are superior strength of the contrarians. Then you're gonna buy or sell every time that we call that the smallest time frame switch. You wanna buy and sell at that area. That's transaction 1, because you got the 4 at the 1 hour align. Now transaction 2 is what happened with the cat, but it's the same that happened with the euro. If you guys remember, the euro in 4 hours, when the euro was over here, your 1 hour was out, your 4 hour was down. What happened? Right here in this correction, the 15-minute change. This is an example of transaction number 2. Your 15-minute change when it went to the inflation area. Which is right here, but it never broke it. Right here, what you have at this moment in the euro was the same that you have in the cat right here, but otherwise you used to have right here the red, the 4 red, the one out, and the 15 red. That's a transaction number 2 scenario. You gotta buy it here. As far as we keep the 1 hour, in that case, out. This is an example of a transaction. Let's put it like that. It's better for you guys. Transaction 2 scenario. This is a transaction 2 scenario. It's when you got the contrarians in the middle. In this case, you got a red, a red 4, a 1 out, and a red here. You gotta take the buy as far as the one contrarian hold. And then this is trading. If it hold the inflation area and we don't change the trend, you gotta keep that trend. Now, that's the transaction 2. Everybody understood the transaction 2. You got a contrarian. 1 and the 15-minute align, but you got 1 in the middle, which is acting as a contrarian. Of course, that the 1 hour is gonna switch first than the 4. If you don't use transaction 2, sometimes you're gonna be missing the move. You see what I mean? You're gonna be missing the move. Yeah, because this cycle right here, of course, is gonna break the 15-minute trend here, but it never broke the 1 hour. That's a transaction 2 in the trend report. Everybody understood that. Team, you understood that? You understand that, team? That's a transaction 2. Now, a transaction 1, for example, is the S&P, in my opinion. I don't say leave the S&P alone. I say you're gonna leave the S&P alone until it gets to your target. Now, S&P is a transaction number 1. Why? This is a transaction 1. Why is a transaction 1? Because you have a 4-hour out and a 1 hour out. If you look at it, let me see. No, S&P is not a 1. Let me find out a transaction 1. S&P is a transaction 2. When at 1400, as far as the 1 hour trend is still out, you gotta buy it. So you leave it alone until you get to that level. And that level, you're gonna take the long at 1400. If we don't change it, you hold it. If we change it, you sell it. You close the position. That's a transaction 2. Right? Now, let me show you a transaction 1. Is the alignment. Look, this is a transaction 1. For example, the euro yen is a transaction 1. Why? Or the dollar yen is a transaction 1. Why? Because you got an alignment between the 4 and the 1. Now, you put the euro yen up, or the dollar yen, doesn't matter, it's the same. You got a 4 and the 1 aligned to the upside. This is your transaction 1. Your 4 is bullish and your one is bullish. Now your 15 becomes bearish, and your 15 has a target which is 83.16. You gotta leave it alone. Why you leave it alone? Because until do not reach 83.16, you cannot touch anything in that pair. You cannot sell it, you cannot buy it. Because you cannot sell it because you have a transaction one. You got a 4 bullish and a 1 hour bullish. So you gotta wait for your inflation area over here, see what it comes from there, and right here you buy it because it's a transaction one when the 1 and the 4 trends are completely aligned. Everybody understood the difference between the two of them. Those are the two scenarios that you're gonna get in the trend report. A transaction one, a transaction two. Transaction one, the 1 and the 4 are aligned. A honeymoon trade, like I call it. You, every time that the 15-minute change, boom, you're gonna buy or sell at that level because there is an alignment between the 4 and the 1. A transaction two, 1 is acting as a contrarian, being the 1 hour, the 4, whatever. 1 is acting as a contrarian. When that happens, you're gonna take the short of a buy in favor of the contrarian. But you gotta be alert that when we get there, we don't change it. For example, the dollar CAD is a transaction two scenario that it failed because the inflation area fell over there. So if you short the CAD at 99.35, you should close the trade, right? You should close the trade. But the same way, the euro, when it was coming off the lows, it was a transaction two area that at 28.75, it hold the trend. Now, let me explain to you guys the euro. One second, the question, if the contrarian, the lower time frame, yeah, the contrarian is the lowest always, exactly, Leon. If you have, for example, you have a bullish 4 hour and your 1 hour is bearish, every time that the 15 becomes bullish, you gotta sell it. But you gotta keep an eye on it because you have a transaction too when they are contrarians. You understand what I mean? Now, when the 1 and the 4, for example, align, what's gonna happen? Very simple. Every time that the red, that the 15 become a target, you buy it in that target. You see? It's very simple. It's very simple, guys. Transaction one, transaction two. There's only two scenarios. Two scenarios. Now, a transaction two is gonna give you a period of time when you don't trade. The same with the transaction one. Why? Because if you have a transaction one, which is when the 1 and the 4, for example, align, you gotta wait on the 15 to get to the target to go with it. If you have a transaction one, two, the same scenario. You gotta wait for the target to buy with the trend. It's very simple. Everybody got it out. It's very simple. No. In that, and this is another good question right here. In a transaction number one, you wait for the target of the 15 and you buy there with your closed eyes. That's a transaction one. In a transaction two, it's different. In a transaction two, you can sell it or buy it, but you gotta be a little bit careful because a transaction one, guys, is the honeymoon trade. I want you guys remember when I mentioned that transaction one is the honeymoon trade. It's the most recommended one. Transaction two is risky. And I'm gonna do now. I want you guys honestly. I know it's confused. I know it's confused. I know sometimes uh, it got a little bit risky and confused. I know it is. But believe me, guys, from the bottom of my heart, when you guys understand this is an ATM machine. When you guys understand how to operate it, it's very simple. Let me repeat it one more time. Transaction one, transaction two. When transaction one is that you have two superior trend. I don't want to mention 1 and 4 because it can be the date and the weekly. Doesn't matter. Two superior trend contrarians to an inferior trend. That's transaction one. That's a honeymoon trade. Transaction two is when you got two alignments and one in the middle. The one in the middle, you can change it, but you can trade it, but you gotta be more careful about it. The most recommended one is the transaction two, but the transaction one. But sometimes you gotta be a little aggressive because look at the euro. It went in a transaction two for 126.60 all the way to 133. It went in a transaction two. So doesn't matter. The thing is that our system is so good that when in a transaction two you reach the inflation area, the system is gonna let you know, you are in the wrong side, like it's doing the cat right now. You see, Tim? No, if it's all green or all red, man, that's not a honeymoon. That's the 50-year wedding anniversary. That's easy. Every time that it becomes red, you gotta keep pushing the trend. You can have the chance that you have all green, and then one of them become, the feasting is gonna become bearish. You gotta give it a try against the 1 hour target. And then it's a process, guys. It's a process. I mean, remember, this is all about cycles and trend. And a cycle can start today, and that cycle that starts today is gonna end soon. So when you see that everyone become green, that cycle is mature, because that means that sooner or later you're gonna start seeing red. It's going from zero green to all green, and then going from one red to all red. That's what the market is all about. It. You guys understand? It's a process. I'm gonna try, and I'm trying to do it as simple as a guess, which is transaction one, transaction two. If you got it all green, you gotta keep buying because all green, there's gonna be a red sooner or later in the 15-minute trend. You gotta buy the target on the 15-minute trend. Now let's say that area on the 15 and the buy in the 1 hour give up, then it becomes a transaction one to the downside against the buy of the 4 hour. Now let me keep going here. Exactly, when you get all green or all green Hazan, what happening is that cycle is mature, and it's getting to the point that it's going to start switching sooner or later to reset. Okay, I'm going to do something that I was planning to do. I'm going to show you the euro, my bad, the euro dollar. Let me drink some water, 1 second. I'm going to show you the euro dollar trend report, and maybe showing one pair. You guys, I'm gonna get it because it's better like that. Now, let's start with the euro dollar. We don't carry the monthly trend because honestly, nobody trade here the monthly trend. I don't believe that many people trade within the monthly trend. Now, the euro dollar, it has a downside trend in the weekly with a target of 111.98. The euro dollar, it has a green trend in the daily with a target of 39.57. How do you look that? That the euro dollar at 140 is a sell as of right now. Everybody see that one, right? Now, until the euro doesn't get to 140, we ain't gonna know if this cycle right here have ended. Now, this is the euro on the weekly. And I think that you guys at the end now that understand what is, let me take the labels gets irrelevant now. This is the euro on the monthly chart. It's bullish. It has an uptrend, right? Now, your weekly is switch over here. In that weekly right there. When the switch when the weekly went to be bullish, right here it was all green. Right here it was all green. Right here the weekly become bearish. Now, when the weekly switch over there, the weekly, it has a target that was 121.68. All right, it reached the target already, but because it hasn't said yet that it's gonna break over here, we gotta keep the next extension lower in the weekly as a target within the inflation area. This is your inflation area on the weekly euro. On the monthly euro, better say. Now, he reached the first target and it bounced. Now, the next area is 112. I'm not saying that it's going to go to 112, but I'm not saying neither that it's going to break 160. All I'm saying is that I don't know at this moment. I know that I am between a fight. I know that at 140, the sellers, they're going to attack with all they have. That's all I know, right? And if they win, they're going to run it all the way to 112. I know that. Now, but I know that the buyers can have a win within. And that the buyers, if we break 140, 146, is going to go to 178. Ask you a question. Is that not enough for you guys to understand where you are? Because I think it's enough. I think that it is, enough. Now, because the weekly hasn't denied the extension to 112, that's why you got in the euro a weekly trend still to the downside. Now, your daily is higher, but it's higher to the daily inflation area. That daily inflation area comes around here. Now, that daily inflation area is over here at 140. Now, how do you need to approach this? It's very simple. Looking at the trend report over here, how do you need to approach it? It's very simple. Is that you are a seller on the weekly, but you are a buyer on the daily, looking for 140. And you should be thinking, because 140 is your higher degree time frame, right? What's going to happen? That's a transaction. In that case, it's a transaction number 2 in the weekly. That's a transaction number 2 on the weekly of the euro. Why? Because you have a monthly that is bullish. You got a monthly that is bullish, and then you got a monthly that is bullish, but you got a red between the daily that is green and the monthly that is bullish. So you got a transaction 2 in the euro weekly, because technically the weekly is against the trend of the monthly. So you're gonna say, I got a transaction 2. When the euro gets to 140, I'm gonna sell it. If 140 do not break the weekly trend. Everybody's here now that I'm seeing the real price. I don't think it's so hard. I think it's understandable. All right? Now, let's say that you have a daily euro that take you to 140. Absolutely, Tim. Because you know that he's going to get to 140. Now, when it gets to 140, 2 things can happen. Either it breaks your weekly and it goes to 178, and the euro become all weak, all green, all around, and then it's a buy in the deep market. But it's bullish in the daily onto 140. Now, you got the daily 140. Now, we don't know how we're going to get to 140. You see what I mean? We don't know how it's going to get to 140. All we know is that it should get to 140. Now, what happened? You got to 140. At 140, it's going to decide the weekly trend. That's going to be the weekly fight. Now, this, you know that he's going to get here. He can do this and go here. Or he can do now this and go here. I don't know. All I know is it's going to get here, and that's my daily target. And I need to buy any dip looking for 140. Now, nobody can hold on a stop of 1,000 P or 2,000 P at this moment. 1,000 P, right? Yeah, 1,000 P. But you know that your daily target is 140 in your daily, right? Now, your 4-hour is bullish also. It was looking for 134.50. Then you got an alignment between the daily and the 4. But you're shooting for the most aggressive count, which is you're shooting for the most aggressive count, which is that it's gonna do this, and it's gonna do another. It's gonna do 7 swing over here. That's what you're shooting for, right? Everybody got one. That's what you're shooting for. that is going to do that, right? Now, what can happen? You got a daily bullish and the 4-hour bullish. But the red is going to change sooner or later. Now, when the red changes, you see that is bullish all around here. When the red changes on the 15 minute, you got to identify that level and buy. No sell into that level. Why? Because you got a transaction one all around. You got a 1-hour bullish, a daily, a 4-hour, and the daily bullish. You see, you got a transaction all around. Now, what happened? The euro, let's say that the euro already find a top over here. The 15-minute trend is going to change. When the 15-minute trend change, what's going to happen? You're going to get another inflation area that it comes over here. But that's going to be your 4-hour and your 1-hour inflation area. Right here. And then, because you have, in the case of the euro, a 1-hour and the 4-hour both aligned to the outside, you have to let it go until it reach your area. And then you buy in that area. Now, what can happen there is very simple. Right there, you're shooting for a transaction 1 because you got an alignment between the 1 and the 2. But transaction 1 can switch in one inflation area. And I can show you guys when that have taken place before. And then you become a seller if you see a switch. But as far as you see green, bottom line, guys, is as far as you see green, you cannot sell. You cannot sell in the 15-minute trend. You can, absolutely no. You gotta wait at least the 15 and an hour, and then you sell in transaction 1 in 15 and an hour. That when the 15 end a cycle, then become a transaction 2. It's confused. Nobody gonna understand it from the get going. We're gonna have the recording later ready. But believe me, guys, when you guys guess this, you guys are in heaven. It's simple with a little brain work. Hi, Clifton, you are the man. You're good. But you see what I mean, Clifton, right? If you understand what I think, guys, this is ABC. Now, I got a question. What about Elliott Wave? Very simple. Elliott Wave is the one that provides us the entry levels, and it's part of the whole system. But it provides us the entry levels. Very simple. Without Elliott Wave, doesn't work. But the math is the one. Don't you notice, Clifton, you'll be more than a year or a year as a member. Don't you notice, since we have the mathematical system on it, the Elliott Wave counts are better. Why? It's because I taken away every suggestion of the Elliott Wave system. And I go with the math and I put the count that works best with the math. And I'm honest, I can tell you that before, in the case of the euro, I should have called it the recovery from 126.16 a B wave. And you guys saw that we were open and open because we knew that we have a transaction one between the 1 and the 15 minute in the euro. And then we keep opening with the transaction one to the roof. Right? That's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is. Now, remember, guys, to do a conclusion, and then I'm going to answer question for 15 minutes. To do a conclusion. Two type of transactions. Transaction one, transaction two. Transaction one, you got an alignment of two trends against an inferior trend. Simple. 15 minute red, 1 and 4 green. You gotta buy in the target of the 15 minute. Simple. You're gonna buy there. Transaction two or sell. Transaction two, you got a contrarian between two alignments. You got a 4 out, a 15 out, and you got the red in the middle. That transaction two, you're gonna zero buy in the target of the one. But you gotta be careful because that level right there can break because the alignment between the two. You gotta be careful. So I was thinking, as far as we're doing this, that let me see if, because the good thing is that, but sometimes on the first 2 weeks of January, we're gonna be able to have this automatically. And I'm gonna, when tomorrow meeting with the employees of Elliott Wave Forecast, I'm gonna tell them that we should identify when their transaction 1 or 2 taking place and trying to pass the message on the rooms so you guys know where you're coming from, right? But in general, guys, it's very simple. It's very simple. You guys need to watch it more than once. You guys won't be able to get it from the get going. But as far as you get it, believe me, it's very useful. As far as you know where we're coming from, and you know the type of market that you're trading. All right. That's, and then put in this way, guys, and put in this way. Do not trade against do not trade against the trend. If you have a color, do not matter if it's transaction one, transaction two, please don't trade against two. That's simple. That's simple. It's very simple. Now, we got, yeah, I mean, you need to cover a thing. It's a very useful uh, uh, it's a very useful tool. And let's see, for the first 10 days of January, the guy have it ready. I agree with you, Robert. And that's what we preach. Uh, that's what we preach. That's what we preach. That why not always wait for the transaction one. The honestly, to be honest with you, is because sometimes, remember, Our system is based in momentums against time, against other things. What happens is that sometimes the seaways of an ABC sometimes are the strongest one, but sometimes they lack momentum. Now, when they lack momentum, what happens is that like the case of the euro, for example, the 4 hour we're never gonna give you a transaction one. It's gonna be in between. But when they are strong, you're gonna get it from the get going. And then that's why we use the transaction too, but we know that you're playing with fire. But the good thing is that the system is so good that the loss in case of the transaction to fail is gonna be minimum, Robert. If you are a trader that have enough discipline around it. That's simple. That's simple. Now, guys, it's 12:21. I can hold it onto around a little bit longer. I got time, but I gotta get out of here in 20 at 12:45. So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna let you guys to ask me questions. I'm gonna start now. Please, there is a lot of persons right there. Ask questions because I know that DAOs can be created. Oh, I mean, this is a new concept for you guys. Bottom line, and I know the question will be now. If a simple transaction one is the DAX, okay, let me see the DAX. DAX is all around. You're gonna buy it at 73.17 unless we don't change the 1 hour as green to red. But remember, Alessandro, is trading is always like that. The good thing, guys, that I want you guys to look at it with this is as follow. That the good thing is as follow. That this system will save you a ton of money if you have if you are a trader that respect yourself as a trader. In other words, if we say get out of there, if we say get out of there, listen, you gotta get out of there. Because if you don't get out of there, you can get burned. You see what I mean? And because this system is gonna help you in that degree. The stops, honestly, the stop gets useless with this system. You don't need that much. Because that we're gonna let you guys know ahead of time. Yeah, the DAX is a transaction one at this stage, yes. But remember, it can change at any moment. And that's when I tell you guys need to be, if before you were active with this system, you guys need to be very active. Because what it looks beautiful today, it can look ugly in the next 5 minutes. Because it's based on momentum. Now, let's go over the question. I got 4 rules. Transactions 1, safe trade. Transactions 2, trade with caution. I agree with you, Hassan. Now, I got a question for Tim. So, pound dollar is a transaction 1, and it is a buy at 160.64 as far as the 1 hour hold. In other words, if you go to the pound, team, this morning, what he was telling me is that the next buy was over here, and that this cycle here ended. That's at least what they told me this morning. You see what I mean? And there is a buy there unless we don't change this 1 hour out to red. If it's become red, it's a transaction 1, but in the higher degree time frame. And then most likely, if the 1 change, the 4 hour is gonna change. And that's how it goes. And you're gonna get a 4 hour target to the downside that's gonna become your buy as a transaction 2 in the 4 hour. But it's like that. Honestly, it's like that. Now, the dollar yen, I explained it to you. Yes, it's a transaction 1. The euro pound is a transaction 1. Yes. Now, the Aussie yen. That's the best one. The honeymoon is the best one. Aussie yen, look. You got down in the 1 hour, down in the 50 minute. That's a honeymoon to the downside. Now, if you look at the Aussie yen, what it's telling you is what we were suspecting, that this cycle is almost over, and that at least this cycle ended. So what happened is that because the 1 hour change in the Aussie yen, what is it? 82.22, you should sell every time that the 15-minute trend change. You should sell every time looking for the 84.22 target right there. And right there, as far as the 1 hour is bullish, and the 1 hour is, the 4 hour is bullish, is a buy looking for 91.22. You see it? You see how it is, Shannon? Exactly, Hassan. That's, I told on the live room that it was a very good sell. That I like it. Think that if this is an scalping technique, should be good at scalping. But the thing that for being a scalping, you got to incorporate the 5, the 15, I mean, small time frames, but I don't like that. All right. For example, another one, New Zealand. New Zealand is very interesting. Why? Because if you take a look at New Zealand, it was, and this is a good one. You see the daily, it was ruling down. You see that? Daily is down. You got a 4 hour out, and you got today, you got a 1 hour down and the 15 down. Now, what happened is that then New Zealand, now you know that in the daily it has a target which is over here 70, if I'm not correct. 68.93. Unbelievable. That's the daily target there. This is the next buy in New Zealand in the daily. Right here. Now, your 1 hour today become bearish. The 15-minute was yesterday. Now, you can sell any 3 ways back in New Zealand against the high. Why? Because you have a transaction one over here between these two. And then the next area for the sellers to run to the buyers is your target, which is this inflation area. And then if this is a buy in the 4 hour here, but if when it gets here, the buyers do not have enough, it's gonna run to the daily target and become the transaction to the downside or completed. It's very simple. I recommend it to you guys to review it. I mean, yeah, but I don't, I mean, Alberto, it doesn't go like that. Because to go to the 4 hour target on New Zealand, which is 86, 89, at this moment, because the 1 and the 15 is giving a transaction 1, at this moment needs to come from here. Because it's telling me that this cycle ended. You see what I mean? What do you mean that which corrections we can trade? Don't understand that question. For example, in the case of New Zealand, I know that nothing's gonna happen to the outside until it doesn't reach around 79.58 area right here. I know that. Yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, great. As far as you have a transaction 1, which is two trains aligned, you gotta sell it or buy it. Now, if you have the 15 and the 4, the 15 and an hour is not as a strong trend as you have the 1 hour and the 4 hour. You see, because the higher the time frame the alignment is, the most powerful the trend is. You see, I mean, this system, what it give you is that it do not, it say It's gonna get here unless it's invalidated. You know where he goes. This is a computer program that does it. That when the cycle switch, he showed me, I showed you guys the other day the screen. When the cycle finish, he goes boom, and he put me the target. The most ideal situation is when you got all greens or red. That's the most ideal. And then you buy in any putback of the red. That's the all. If it's all green, if it's all is for example, I got 10 more minutes. For example, the S&P, the S&P, the S&P is being since 2009 in a green cycle. I would call it in a green cycle. Now, this is the daily S&P. This cycle ended here. I mean, your daily trend is out. Right here, you got a switch, and most likely the one under 15 went red, and then you buy. It's like that. When you see that we change a color, it's because a cycle in some degree has changed. For example, your beloved euro. The euro, it was in the red cycle from here. The euro is in the red cycle from here. In the dailies. You see? One cycle, two cycle, another extension, a cycle, another extension, a correction, and another cycle. This cycle ended. The trend report, for example, last year should have been read in the euro, in the weekly, and in the daily. When some of you guys are new members, when we were over here, I say, now it goes over here. And when we were over here, it say it goes over here. And now it say it goes over here. So what it was all red has been switching to all green. But it's a step-by-step process that needs to be understanding like that. Now, we trying to figure out using Elliott Wave which one is the count. But listen, this works perfectly. And I'm trying to explain it to you guys in the most simple way, which is transaction 1 and transaction 2 there. I can give you the steps right here, which are right here the daily, the 4 hour, they were all red. Then right here maybe the daily was red and the 4 become bullish. All right, and right here the 4 become bearish again. Maybe right here the 4 become bullish. But you know that, and then right here we told the whole world it ended. We first go with this cycle that is gonna go to 127, and then when it gets to this, inflation, it give up. And we say now it goes to 134 area. But I know that this one is going to give up. It's very simple. It's the same concept, Alessandro. This market, this system, always gonna call the market. You won't see those. I mean, unfortunate, we gotta send a lot of intraday trades sometimes, but you won't see us in a wrong side of the market very often with the charge. It can be here and there, but at least we're gonna be most of the time in the right side of the market. Are you asking me if this caused the crisis? Absolutely. Absolutely. We've been warning you guys over the last 24, 48 hours. Be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. It's because, guys, when you do 500 or 600 charge every week and you have a computer program that is telling you what the market is doing, it can get you once. I don't deny it. Look, we lost the trade in the Euro Aussie. It can get you one. But it's a thing that works. Because I hope, if you notice, I've been calling lower cable since Wednesday. So I hope that nobody bought the cable. You see? It's like that. It's very simple, guys. Transaction 1, transaction 2. Transaction 1 is more secure. Transaction 2, it can trick you sometimes. Now, when the transaction 1 happens, you gotta sell or buy the inferior time frame on the 3, on the 7, or an 11 wave. When the transaction 2 happens, you're gonna sell it the same way. But you gotta be careful that when your inflation area is reached, you do not, you gotta be careful, because what happens is that in a transaction 2, when it gets to your inflation area, is when it's gonna decide it. And this is the best example. I can give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Look, where is the cat selling? In your inflation area. Now, what happened? That I know that I got in the cat, I got 2 more minutes. In the cat, I got a 4 hour to the outside. Before the 1 hour was lower, but I already caught the outside. So I know that from the inflation area, as far as you sell or buy, he always is gonna give you a chance to break even. No many times it goes through like nothing, and then you get out of there if you see that we switch the trend. That's very simple. All right. Okay, guys. Hope everybody got it. Review it. Review it. We're gonna have the recording on the educational video later on today, so you guys can watch it 100. I hope that you guys doesn't need the bandwidth of Elliott Wave forecast over the weekend. Nah, just kidding. We got enough. We got enough. Enough bandwidth. Thank God. And okay, guys. See you guys on Sunday, and have a nice weekend, everyone. Thank you, guys.